Hi, welcome to an Unprogrammed Life with Ocean Eagle. And I am Marty Ocean Eagle. And this is episode 2. On episode 1, I kind of went into a little bit about what programming was and what I thought about it. And also, I went into my story a little bit. Some of my past, my traumas and my abuses and my abandonments and stuff that, that were guiding my life, for forever. And let me just get the record clear real quick. I know unprogrammed is not a word in the English dictionary, and I don't give a shit. I liked unprogrammed better than deprogrammed. So I'm aware of it. I know it. It's interesting. My recent ex-wife, we'd been together over a year plus. This is some form of programming. And she was a very educated person. And she had something she needed to talk to me about. And it was very important. She was really struggling, like in tears, that she needed to tell this to me. And I'm like, well, of course, please, let's get it off your chest. I had no idea what it was. And she bugged the hell out of her that I was misspelling the word your when I would text her, that I wasn't allowing autocorrect to make it YOU''RE. I could give a shit, honestly, about whether I spell your right or wrong. We know what people mean when they do that, but to go around correcting people is just none of my business, right? It's like I could care less if I ever misspell that word again or any word again, actually. And God, if I went around the world trying to correct everything that in my view was what I thought was wrong, the minute I think it's wrong, I'm wrong, because it's none of my business what somebody else is doing or how they're doing things, how they're spelling words, how they're saying words. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, somebody I just met, and on through Facebook on Messenger, and we had a phone call, and during the phone call, I said a word, and she corrected my the way I pronounced the word, and I was like, "Did she just correct me?" And I know how to say that word. It doesn't matter. Her perception of that word and my perception are different. But I would never go around correcting people. I understood. I understand what you mean. I'm not going to try to correct you. It's none of my business. Anyway, just little things like that are just little things of programming. But I did want to go a little deeper into my story a little bit, just so we can get some more clarity on kind of where I came from. And because after all the childhood abuse and after all the childhood wounding and abandonment, then I'm left with the mask that I've made at that point, going through high school and getting out of high school and going to school on a baseball scholarship. And, I was a train wreck in college. It was partying, baseball, and school in that order. And I did not value my scholarship. And I did really well my first year, but that was just because of natural ability, not because of the effort I was putting into it. But somebody they're an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. So here's what I want you to see. This is my mask. This is my protection. But I can't take that off, because if you saw who I really was, you would hate me because of everything that I did and all these choices that I made. And then they were great. I made a lot of choices that the world would call bad. But as I started doing my inner work about 4 years ago, and I really started digging in. I remember one of the sessions I had with my spirit mother, Kadia. I remember the first I think it was the first or second session when I laid on her table, and I had my eyes shut and I was laid down. And in a very loving, like with a mother's voice, she said, "Marty, you've never done a bad thing in your life." And I didn't know what to do with that. I had never heard that from anybody. I had never said that to myself. Because to me, all the choices that I had made me bad, right? So I had to have the mask on to protect myself and to make so you couldn't see everything that I did and who I was, all the shame that I had, right? And that was such a freeing statement for her to say to me. And it's like, it was a very, very important moment in my life, actually. It really gave me permission to tell myself that I was not bad, to not judge myself based on the choices that I had made in the past. And some of those choices, and I've been in a Mexican jail. I've been beat up by federales. I was such an ass to the federales as a blacked out drunk that they kicked me out of the jail and left me on a curb by the bar at 2 something in the morning, where my friends found me. Story after story like that. By the time I was 25 years old, I was just self-sabotaging over and over and over. I kept, trying to fix myself with women and booze and drugs. Drugs went out of my life at 20, but I did a lot of drugs in high school and in college. Um, did a lot of extracurricular, mind-altering, feeling-numbing choices and things that I put in my body. So by the time I was 25, I had 3 drunk drivings, and I had 4 totaled cars, like I said in the last episode. And then what happened was, not long after one of my last ones, I was in a bar again. I was getting drunk, and I met this woman, and we fell in love and slept together and got married in that order. Well, we slept together and fell in love and then got married. That's the right order. And I followed her career around because I was just like a little puppy, right? I didn't know who I was or what I wanted. Had no idea what a truth was. I didn't know what I was. And I was just this big false ego mask of Marty Daniel at that point, trying to just figure out life. And I had this beautiful woman that wanted to marry me. I married her, and we chased her career around. She was a news anchor in San Angelo, Texas, Midland, Odessa, Texas, Memphis, Tennessee. And then she finally got a call for a television show in Los Angeles and in Hollywood. And we moved out there. And that is when, for about 6 months, I didn't work, and I just drank a lot. And I was alone, didn't know anybody. I was living in Burbank. And what happened for me was, I was visiting my father up in Northern California because he had just had quadruple bypass surgery. And my idea of going up there to help my father was to take his car out and go get drunk. And that was my last night of drinking. I came in at about 3:30 in the morning, drunk. I couldn't black out that night for some reason. And my dad with staples in his chest, the man that not my hero. I don't know why I was there. Didn't made all kinds of terrible choices. Would cheat on my stepmother a lot and tell me about it, and would have me lie for him. Then I would mess up the lie, and then he would, verbally, beat me up. Sometimes physically, push me and touch me. When I would, screw his lie up to my stepmother, and there's just no way to, teach your son or model your child, for your child. Anyway, so I walk in, and my father is sitting there with staples in his chest. And I remember the look of disgust on his face. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, that piece of shit is disappointed in me. All the stuff that he did, all the wounding and all the crazy, and especially what he did to my mother, that guy is disappointed in me. That's how low I got. That is what I call the gift of desperation. Because I went upstairs and looked in the mirror that night. I went into the bathroom, and I absolutely hated who I saw. And I realized that I had focused so much attention on who I would never become, my father, that I became him. And I hated who I saw. That was the last night I took a drink of alcohol. That was my aha moment, if you will, my bottom. I'd had many other reasons to quit drinking, and I never even thought about quitting drinking. So for me, I white knuckled for about a week not drinking, and then my ex was drinking so much and had a bad night around Thanksgiving a week later. And so Friday night I went into my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous by myself, and I went to 630 AA meetings my first year, and that was probably not. I probably went to a few more than that. I made Alcoholics Anonymous I made it my job. I wanted it bad. I had the gift of desperation. I really wanted never to feel that way again and be that person again. And I worked the 12 steps, in about the first 45 days with my sponsor, Jack, and made the ocean my God, because I didn't believe in God back then. That's not how I got my spirit name. That's a whole synchronicity thing that happened later through Linda Starwolf. And so for me, that started me off on a journey that was I think my awakening, my initial awakening on the spiritual journey that I've been on, although so much happened after that. I mean, I got a divorce that year when I got sober. 15 months into being sober, I met the mother of my children, and we moved very quickly. And that was my MO, get into a relationship. I couldn't handle being alone. I was abandoned. Whenever I was by myself, the walls would just crawl in on me, and I would have all this fear and anxiety inside me, and I didn't know what to do with it. And being with somebody, touching me, would heal me, right? Always looking on the outside for my healing. You're going to hear me talk about this a lot on this podcast about the inner journey. This is an inward turn. So many people in the world are looking on the exterior to fix themselves because they don't want to look inside. They don't want to go in there and look at those messy, ugly things that are buried deep inside them that are controlling them. They're programming, right? The mental program, we have the emotional programming. We have both. The mental program is what the world's feeding us all the time, and what we read, what we watch, what we hear. And the emotional programming for me was all the wounding, was all the traumas and the abuse and abandonments that happened in childhood and stuff I had done to myself, right? And I was always a self-sabotager. I never thought, but I was also I was a high-functioning alcoholic, and I was also an overachiever. And so the mask can come in different forms. So when I got in that relationship with the mother of my children, I picked somebody that was wounded. Of course, I was very wounded, and but it's much easier for somebody that's wounded with a broken heart to go love someone else and try to fix what's perceived as their problems, even when they're not asking for it. I would go put on my Superman cape and try to fly in, and I'm going to fix this, right? She had 2 children, and I'd never had kids before, and I was 15 months sober when I met her, and we got into this, flying relationship and got married 9 months later, like right after her divorce was final. And she carried all the wounding that she had from that relationship in, and that relationship was doomed from the beginning. And I can look back and I understand why now. And I love her today. We co-parent very well today. We've been through a lot, her and I, to say the least. And it went on. It was a 14-year marriage, and there was 3 separations in it. And there was infidelity on my part in the relationship later on. And there was a Mormon church in there that I joined because I thought it was the right thing to do, and because the programming told me that my children needed to be raised with religion and God to be safe, right? Because I wasn't raised with that. So maybe the opposite of that is safe for my kids. Knowing what I know today, I see everything with crystal clear vision. I know why I picked the first woman. I know why I picked the second wife, and I know why I picked the third wife. And I understand that I don't have any regrets for anything these days. After I've done the kind of work that I've done, and I've really gone deep, and we'll talk about what diving deep into our programming and our wounds and our traumas looked like for me, because it was a lot of necessary work. I don't say hard or difficult. My work that I did on my stuff with Nicole and with Kadia was necessary for me to be this today. And today, I love myself so much. I'm imperfect. I make a lot of mistakes still, but I love me. And those mistakes now don't turn into shame. I have compassion for the human side of me. My brain used to tell my heart how to feel based on all of the so-called knowledge it had, right? All of the knowledge that I'd gathered over the years and all the programming in my chest from all the wounds, right? People are so afraid to change everything in their life. Because they're attached, right? I read The 5 Levels of Attachment by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., and that taught me the difference between attachment and connection. And I looked up attachment, and when I attach to people, places, things, even children, my own children, if I attach to things, then I make them an extension of me, a part of me. And when that goes away, then I feel like I've lost a part of me. It's like those old sappy love songs, when I lost you, I lost the biggest part of me. It's like, it just makes me want to throw up these days. It's like, ugh, really? um, but going through all those relationships and going through sobriety and working the 12 steps, and I was just setting the stage and I did a lot of talk therapy, guys. I sat, and the difference in the talk therapy that I did and what I did with Nicole and Kadia is real basic. In talk therapy, we went in, we saw the wounds, we pulled them out, we looked at them, made a trauma egg, made 123 little windows that I drew stick figure drawings in of all my traumas and wounds. And I looked at them, and then we threw it away and got rid of it, right? We never healed them. When I never took my energy back out of the story. My story was my master. My story was my king, it ruled my subconscious thoughts. It ruled the way I chose people in my life, friends, women. It ruled everything. And I didn't realize I was a slave to the old story. And that old story just kept coming around because, and I used to use my old story as, I would tell people my old story so they'd feel sorry for me, because I wasn't enough just to be loved as me, because I was a piece of shit, right? I had no self-esteem. This really cool outside shell, that was very successful and did really well in business. I really didn't think hardly anything of myself. I really didn't think much of myself. My self-esteem was, I lived off of the false ego. I used to do things for people. I used to do all kinds of acts of kindness, but I could never not tell anybody. I always had to tell people when I did nice things for people so that I would be loved, right? Because I wasn't enough just to be loved just for me. You want to practice. Here's a little thing I do to practice giving without an expectation of receiving any accolades or anything, right? So you go to Starbucks and you order a drink, and how many people can actually put the tip in the tip jar without the employee looking? Because I used to do that all the time. I would wait till they turned around before I would let go of the money in the tip jar so that they knew that dollar came from me. Who cares, right? And it's like, I still actually do that sometimes. And I'm like, I catch myself and I laugh now because I understand what it is. It's like, that's old ego driven stuff. And it's like, I want you to see me doing good. I want you to know that I put that tip in there. Real quick, the other thing I get a lot of right now through Facebook Messenger, people talking to me, is relationship problems. And man, I'm not a relationship coach. I've had 3 marriages that did not work out. And coming to me for relationship advice would be like a woman going to a gynecologist and asking for a colonoscopy. It's just the wrong area. I just don't, I don't have a very good track record, and I don't have any knowledge or wisdom around it that would do anybody any good. The only thing that I know for me today is self-love and self-care. A relationship will come to me later on. That's whatever that's going to look like is going to be what it's going to look like. It's like, I'm not really, I haven't been open to that. And I'm not far out of my last marriage and divorce. So for me, it's when I start becoming love and walking around just in love with me, and love with the world, and love with the people in this world and the planet, then I don't have to look for love outside anymore. I don't have to be that poor little boy that's the forsaken child that's in the corner saying, hey, look at me. No one's paying attention to me. Now I love me. And I have a relationship with my creator, divine source, divine mother, divine father, spirit of the universe, universal creator, God, whatever works for you. No judgment on who your God is, or if you're in religion or not. I don't personally agree with religion. That's my personal view. And I don't judge anybody for having that, Catholic, Buddhist. I don't attach to one thing. When I attach to one thing, I separate myself from the one thing, which is everything. to me, I don't want to do separation. If I become Buddhist, or if I become Hindu, or if I go to a monastery and just become a monk, I'm separating myself from the world, and I want to be a part of everything. I pick the things I believe in from every modality. Everywhere I go, everybody I talk to, I'm an open vessel to bring in information, and I bring the information into my classroom, which is in my chest, and that's what I do. Um, so I want to start talking about the programming and on the basic levels, and we go all the way back to childhood, right? So all of this stuff that happens, right? All of this stuff called life happens, and it's this version of ourselves we've invented to keep ourselves safe. And that's what everybody wants right? Everybody just wants to be content and loved and happy and safe. And we build these ideas of what that looks like based on our childhood, what our life looked like back then. Okay, we never had any of this, so I'm going to make sure we have as much of that as possible. Unless we didn't have any money, so I'm gonna have as much money as I can make. Damn, if I don't have that much money, then that means I haven't succeeded yet and I haven't arrived. And therefore my self-esteem is low because I haven't arrived, and I'm always feeling like I'm behind and I got to go make more money. And it's like, people today just don't understand what being present is. 1 second from now isn't the future, it's now. When I'm in that, I'm present. And the past is gone. There's nothing I can do about it. And once I learned how to go in and grab every one of my wounds, I didn't just go grab my dad. I didn't just go grab my mom, my brother, that coach, myself, the stuff that happened in my childhood and growing up. I actually went through and I named each wound. I named each thing that happened, and I brought them out of the dark. I brought my light into the dark with me, and I went down there and I pulled that wound up and I shined the light on that wound. And I understood that I was now making a choice to give that energy. May not have had a decision or a choice of when that happened or what happened to me. But as an adult now, I have a choice whether I want to be a victim or whether I don't want to be a victim. And, it's so subtle sometimes. And when we don't even realize, I've had talk with people about their relationships, and whether we have daddy wounds or mommy wounds, or whether we were an orphan, all of that stuff plays into who we have made ourselves to be. So the problem with who we make ourselves to be, in my opinion, is we make ourselves who we are as this version of who we think we were supposed to be. And it stops us from becoming who we are meant to be, what essence we were meant to have, what gift we were meant to bring to this existence. So when we have that blocked, we can't even see who we are. We have this version of ourselves that is just surviving, that is just staying alive. And there's no judgment. People, I call it the land of the eyes wide shut. People walk around, they wake up, and we do the programmed thing. We do the same dinner, we do lunch, breakfast in the morning, and we get the kids to school and we go to work, and we make sure that we've maxed out our 401k so that when we get 70 years old and we've got cancer and can't enjoy it, we have a lot of it anyway. So, we do the program thing that we're supposed to do in life. And we do things all the time that our bodies, our essence, our truth do not want us doing. It's not what we're meant to do. And to me, when we act that way, when we make choices that go inherently against our truth, whether we know in our mind or our heart what that truth is, whether we have an awareness of it or not, physiologically on a cellular DNA level, I believe our bodies know. And when we go against that, that's when we have fear and anxiety. That's when we feel like, we're just struggling and we're just not, it's just not right. I've got all this stuff. I've got the house, I've got the husband, I've got the wife, I've got the kids. We've got money in the bank. Why don't I feel fulfilled? To me, it's because there's a part of you that the Creator put inside you that is waiting to come out that can't, because you won't go in, and I wouldn't go in and see it. I wouldn't go in and clear the path so that all of a sudden, when I had my truth revealed to me less than 10 months ago, I knew in an instant that I had just saw who I am. I knew that I was sent here to serve this planet, to serve people, to serve children, to help people evolve out of this, thing, that the dream, right? And to some people, they're perfectly, what their version of happy is none of my business. They may be perfectly happy. They may love their life, and that's none of my business. But I'm here to help people wake up, that are ready to wake up, that are really ready to do the deep diving work, to really clear the path so that they can really get an idea of who they're meant to be. There's nothing to be afraid of except fear itself. There really isn't, to me. Now that I walk my truth authentically, I set my boundaries and I don't waver from them now. I will no longer get into a relationship with a woman that drinks alcohol. That's never going to happen again. Done that, proved it doesn't work. It's not going to happen again. What is this really about? And it's about my soul. It's about me coming here with a divine purpose in my soul. My soul sent me here to do something. And if I don't do it and do it well and fix it, then I got to come back and do it again. Basically, I'm going to not do the work my soul wanted me to do. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to meet my spirit and try to connect. And my spirit's going to stick a dumbass sticker on my forehead. You didn't do it, dumbass. And you got to go do it again, and that's just a version of it. So, I'm gonna kind of close this one off with this, and we'll pick back up next time. I really want to talk about people that are trying to bypass their inner work. I have so many people I talk to that they're attached and they're latched on to different teachings, different modalities. People here, I do a lot of stuff in shamanic stuff. I have my drums, and I've been trained some in shamanic breath work. I've actually was ordained as a shamanic minister on top of Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Sun, this December. But I'm not attaching onto one thing. People hear you do shaman stuff. They want to know if you do ayahuasca, and it's like I don't do ayahuasca. I don't do any mind-altering substances or alcohol or drugs or anything. I do everything I need through the breath, through breathing, and through meditation. I don't think we need all of that. But so many people think that you can go do ayahuasca or the grandmother medicine or San Pedro, the grandfather medicine. And I'm like, that's your grandmother or your grandfather. And they get all bent about it. It's like, it's plant medicine. I'm like, well, you know what? It's a plant and a root, and they put it in a basin and they cook it for 25 hours to get the effect. If that's plant medicine, then so is cocaine, because that comes from a plant too, and it's cooked. So anyway, I have my own version on that stuff. And no judgment on those out there doing it. Knock yourself out. Please be careful. I've many stories of people going into psychosis and really damaging their brains when the container's not held right and the medicine's not right. Medicine, if you want to call it. But anyway, we'll talk about the bypassing and the taking shortcuts when what you really need to do is buckle down and really dive into reading some certain books that might wake you up, and also getting with somebody that you trust and that you can tell your story to and really get it all out, because that's important. That we're only as sick as our secrets. So when we get the secrets out, we begin to start healing, because we can see them, we reveal them, and then we have to heal them. So it's a process. You can't just pull them out of the dark and then just go shove them back in there. For me, it doesn't work that way. So till episode 3, I am Ocean Eagle, and with all my heart, with all my soul, I say I love you and namaste, and we'll see you if you want to get a hold of me, you can send me an email at oceaneagle018@gmail.com. Can't guarantee that I can get back to you depending on the amount of messages that come in, but I'll do my best as I can. All right. Lots of love.